Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Panasonic GH5 Mark II. So let's dive right into it. Now before we can understand Mark II, we must understand GH5 itself. Now this puppy was launched in March 2017. So as in, it's very old when it comes to technology. However, it was way ahead of its time. As in 2017, there was nothing that can even come close to it in terms of its performance in video specifically. Now video features at that point in time, it was like 4K, very high bitrate, actual basically settings of this point in time, it was like no other camera company can touch this unless you are going into cinema territory. So it was way ahead of its time, and Panasonic had really mastered at that point in time their IBUS technology, and their IBUS itself was very good. On top of that, they built it in such a way that it will talk with lens image stabilization, and both will work in concert, giving you a very smooth basically image. So basically some people have actually done vlogging, as in 2017 kind of vlogging, where they have a handheld camera with image stabilization in lens and IBUS, and it's mind-bogglingly smooth, as in like you will literally think they are using gimbal. That's how good it was. And back in that day, they did not have 30-minute recording limit, which is a very big deal. Think of it this way: 30-minute recording limit is originally first there was a 10-minute limit. That was because of like 4 GB file size limitation of FAT system. When people move to exFAT, the issue is no longer there. That's still in red cameras. That's why they always create 4 GB files slices. So 30-minute limit was there because of European Union tax law. They are like, hey, if your product is falls in the video camera category, we're gonna charge you more. If it's in photo camera category, we'll charge you less. So every camera company just wanted to make sure their camera actually sells, because of the low price, they made sure that it's 29.59. That was the limit for that. Now Panasonic flat out paid the higher tax and achieved higher than 30-minute recorder, which was mind-boggling back in that days. Now be mindful, this is around same era where DSLRs were doing videos, but most DSLRs used to overheat. So this was really ahead of its time. However, there was one limitation. Like you watch from 2017 videos, all of them would say amazing camera, weak autofocus, amazing camera, unreliable autofocus, amazing camera, hopeless autofocus. That was the whole point of it. Contrast detect autofocus was flat out not good enough, and back in that day it was not good enough. So there is no competition. Like if you had compare this puppy to any modern Sony or Canon, yeah, don't even think about it. It was like really unreliable, as in like it will literally hunt even though you don't have to. For example, this is the same time when Panasonic started to introduce dual pixel autofocus. So flat it was like, ooh, not good enough. So GH5, while it was mind-bogglingly awesome and people made actual cinema rig out of this and made actual movies out of this, it was just like for those kind of people, simply because they were utilizing focus puller. So if you are one of those guys, you will use this, you will love this camera, this is most amazing thing ever. But if you're not one of those, people would not buy. And that's why this camera did not took over the world, even though every Tom Dick and Harry is like, this is the amazing camera. It's like people gave up on it simply because of autofocus. Yes, if you are like that good where you can use full focus, yes, deal. If you are that skill level, there is a very good chance this camera is just a step over, basically, where you make enough money and then you buy a better camera. So it was always that kind of switch over in that. And for vloggers, YouTubers, basically people who were targeted by this camera, was not impressed by the poor autofocus performance. So that was only one's Achilles heel, so to say. So GH5 Mark II comes along. Now this puppy has exact same architecture, aka sensor is the same core technology. However, the processor has been improved, and LCD they made it a bit smaller and much brighter. So it's actually an improvement, and processor is the biggest improvement. There was like no big chunk of improvement. Where did that money go? That went into big chunk of CPU. Benefit of that, this puppy can now do 4K 60 FPS up to at 10-bit 420, which is mind-bogglingly awesome. So be mindful, at this point in time you are literally reaching into territory Sony A7 S3 kind of territory. So this is really good, and they are compatible with backwards battery. What does that mean? That simply means if you are Panasonic system owner and you have GH5, those battery will work on this, and even though it utilizes the new battery, they will make sure that they are cross compatible, so which is really awesome. Be mindful, you cannot charge the new battery that you're gonna get with this puppy on old chargers. That's the only limitation. So it's a good system. And because USB power delivery, while it was created in 2017, was not well utilized everywhere. So now they have even fixed that. So this puppy can be charged, powered through USB-C, much more reliable, which is really, really good. And it can do live streaming directly from camera, because again, mobile networks have now become good enough where you can actually expect it to serve up around a full HD stream at like 30 frames per second on a mobile data stream. You can do that, and with other Wi-Fi you can do that. So this is really good. So you can do all three things with this puppy. You can, the most simplest system for desktop user, use a USB camera, 4K 34 frame per second limitation, but it's more than good enough for almost 100% of streaming services. You're gonna utilize this, and this is gonna be awesome. Then you can utilize Wi-Fi, that will give you a bit more flexibility because it's much faster than USB 2.0. You can get higher quality, or you can have HDMI output. So this is really, really good. So that's a really awesome. And given the fact that you can do direct live streaming, let's say you are in some place where you want to do a vlog, all you need is a cellular data. So if you are in a position where you have good cellular data, this is more than awesome. It's like, take it and go. So for many people, just that feature alone is like, shut up and take my money. Now, when it comes to this sort of camera, this is primarily a video camera. Can you take good photos with this? Absolutely. Would it be really good? No. Flat out no. And the reason why I do not focus on video camera is simply because mobile phones have reached a point where you can take photos from them, and while it won't be like amazing, glorious, but if you're not making money out of those photos that you are taking from like your mobile phone is more than good enough. It's documented well enough. You can serve it into multiple streaming systems, so be it Instagram, Facebook, or whatever have you. That's more than good enough. At this point in time, people, like, if you even show them side by side, this camera is better. It's like, wait a minute, I have to have this clunky old device that is designed in 1980s to follow this, which is charging protocol and all that jazz. It's like think of it this way, like there are still new DSLRs that are released in the market from a tier 1 manufacturer that does not have USB charging. Let that sink in. So fundamentally speaking, most of people are not utilizing these caliber of camera for photography. Videography, on the other hand, is still way behind. Even on iPhones, they are nowhere near as good enough as a proper mirrorless system. So flat out, great video. It has finally good autofocus. Now be mindful, it's still contrast detect autofocus. So if you go into edge cases, aka if you are in a scenario where, let's say, you have basically a noisy environment, basically you have a lot of people, then it might hunt. You are in a scenario where things are changing bit too dynamically, this might still hunt. So it's almost like 80 to 90% of a Sony system and Canon system, but do not expect it to like actually go head to head and win. Like it's still like, if you take a Canon system and run it like for 2 hours in 2 scenarios, and take this camera 2 hours in 2 scenarios, you will find Canon will be, the probability of losing your focus is bit less. So fundamentally, it's at this point people can buy this camera and be happy with this, but still not the amazing. It's just like good. It's like good, I can buy this and I can utilize this. Then we come to, because they are utilizing new processor, they are utilizing the latest and greatest lock profiles, which they are no longer like, okay, you have to pay more to unlock this lock profile and all that jazz, or like update it and all that. They're no longer doing that, which is awesome. And it again, they have improved the IBUS, which was already good. So if they're claiming improvement, that's really good. Be mindful, IBUS is the greatest weakness of Sony system, but you can compensate for that by utilizing external gimbals. Autofocus is not something that you can fix externally. So be mindful before you, oh, this is the most amazing thing. Be mindful of that. And basically, overall, the system is a much more polished version of GH5. That's all you have to think. It's like much more polished. Now, how does it compare to other? Because this is not 2017 anymore. So GH6 was announced at the same time. That was the most stupidest thing out there, simply because if they had announced Z6, basically GH6 completely, whereas like GH6, this is the specs, this is the price, and we're gonna release it at the end of 2021, which is the supposed date, people would have able to make decisions. Right now, everybody is stuck in a position where they're like, they do not know how advanced GH6 is gonna be or how bad it's gonna be. If it was like, it's they know everything, it's like, then people could have made decision, hey, can I wait for that long? Can I save up the money in that amount of time, like whenever they're gonna launch it? Right now, everything is indecision. Now, only few things are known about GH6 is that it's not a 8K camera. It can only go for 5.6K. So that fundamentally means it has a lower resolution than 33 megapixel. So at this point in time, that itself will like knock the wind out of the sails, so to say. So GH6 announcement was really bad done. If they're like, okay, this is the camera and this is the price and we're gonna launch it later, it would have been like, people could easily make a decision. It's like, hey, I want to go into Panasonic system. I think Micro Four Third will suit me. Well, I get it. Right now they are in indecision where they cannot make a decision knowingly whether it's like, hey, GH6 is good or not. So fundamentally that was the bad of Panasonic on their own end. And then there is a lot more competition. Like you can buy Blackmagic that utilizes basically sensor, micro four third sensor, and you will be like, damn, that's good, like as in like raw level recording and all that jazz. So flat out at this point in time there is a lot more competition even from Panasonic itself. Like for example, if you want to do VR or cinema, or you want to do anything like 360-degree video, flat out everybody will tell you, hey, buy the goddamn box camera from Panasonic with micro four third. Price is almost the same and is small and lightweight enough, and it has a gen lock, which is really advanced cinema level function. That's there. Now what about other two manufacturers like Canon and Sony? Now you can buy Canon and Sony. Both are fundamentally more expensive. Let me be clear, like flat out you're expecting to spend 2 times more. Do not even think they are cheap enough. Like flat out they are expensive. And if you buy Canon, you are still back to limitation of 30-minute recording limit. So if you're in a scenario where it's like, dude, I do long takes, don't even think about Canon, you have to buy Sony. In those sort of scenarios, Sony can do almost everything except image stabilization, so you have to buy a gimbal. Again, it's something that most people do, and not to mention every cinema camera like it requires that. So it's kind of thing that you can live with. Yeah, it would be awesome if it did not have, but we can't win everything. So yes, you will get the similar kind of performance or better image performance from these two cameras. However, you have to pay significantly more. So that is one thing. However, the final nail in the coffin is that ecosystem health is not good. Think of it as well. Let's say Sigma is there. Sigma is like, I shall make a lens. Now, the first thing Sigma is going to think about is like, how many people I can potentially sell. Like, what is my potential market? Now, if they are talking about a full frame, they are talking about Nikon, they are talking about Canon, and they are talking about Sony. So 3 giant, which has really huge market reach, as in like millions and millions of units sold every year, versus Micro Four Third, which does not have a greater stealth out there. And on top of that, there were 2 main manufacturers. One of them already bailed, aka Olympus. So fundamentally, Panasonic is in a position where they have a horse in the race, which is like the only horse at this point in time, and it's not looking very good in health. Because while there are cinema camera like Z-Cam and all the other that, most of them utilize Canon lenses for their system. So you get the point. Like, so that's why the ecosystem health is not good enough at this point in time. You might get more lenses like from all third party combined in Sony system than Micro Four Third, and Canon has really huge lens selection. And battery wise, Sony has much better battery system. It's like 1 battery for all their full frame system, which is amazingly good for new ones I'm talking about, which is really good. Like you can have A7S3 for videographers, same battery. You can have A7R3 for basically photographers. You can have A9, same battery for sports photographers. So you get that point. Like you can have a whole Sony ecosystem and you have 1 battery, which is really, really amazing. Specifically, if you can buy chargers that can charge multiple batteries at the same time, you will love the Sony system. Yes, it does not have the most amazing or the greatest image stabilization. You can buy gimbal, which many people buy gimbal even if the camera has image stabilization, simply because they can do fancy moves with it. So fundamentally, the poor ecosystem health is not makes me confident. It's like, can you buy the system? Yes. Will it serve you well? Yes. Is it a long-term investment? To be yes, at best. So, and given the fact that Panasonic themselves is like, we're also gonna release GH6, I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do. You could have simply either GH6, this price range, this sort of features. People are like, okay, they are working on this. This is the expected thing. I don't need that kind of resolution. I'm happy with GH5 Mark II. I'm gonna buy it with confidence. Right now, everybody who's gonna buy that is like, I hope GH6 is not really good, because if it's really, really good, even with a higher price, people are like, dude, I should have saved my money. So you get that point. So Panasonic itself kind of created a very weird situation. So this was my presentation on Panasonic GH5 Mark II. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.